Okay, is everybody happy? All right, this is supposed to be Premonitions, Predictions, and Prophecies. There's a whole bunch of different things we can cover, but I'm going to try and just jump around because I don't know what you're interested in. One of the big things with premonitions, it says premonitions are a strong feeling that something is going to happen, especially something unpleasant. And that's, we really don't want to think about unpleasant things, but how many people have premonitions where they realize something is going to happen, but then kind of don't act on it because they're afraid that they might be changing something? One of the issues about people who have lots of premonitions is they worry, are they responsible to tell someone that something's going to happen? Are they responsible, and can they change what is going to happen? One of the things that on premonitions was about, we'll say, 9/11. A lot of people came out and said that they realized that planes were going to hit the towers, but they didn't realize what the progress was on going on, things on what was going to happen. Same with the Titanic. A person who was on the Titanic and perished on the Titanic wrote a book, a short story about that incident that had happened. And the reason the Titanic was so bad is they didn't have enough lifeboats. That was the whole thing, and that's when the laws came out now that they have to have a lifeboat, capable of handling everybody on the ship, including the crew. But that's why most of those people died. I think it was 150 people died because the ship went down and there was no place for them to go. So these are things that happen. People, they know what's going to happen, but they really can't do anything about it. It's like people who are for a plane crash. A lot of people, if they have a premonition, they won't fly. It's like if you're driving down the road and suddenly you get the feeling you don't want to go that road, you want to take another road. And there may not be any other reason, that just something tells you that that's going to happen. So premonitions are like dreams. They don't know where they come from. They appear, they disappear. Can you change a premonition? Yeah, if you get a premonition that something bad's going to happen, just try to avoid it. Or if you get a premonition that you're going to win the lottery, try to get down and buy your ticket, because if you don't, you'll never know. And sometimes we have to trust what we would call intuition, and that's what a premonition is intuition. How many people dream and remember their dreams? See, that's a really tough thing to do, because dreams are taken by our subconscious, and sometimes we disconnect from our subconscious, and that's what gives us premonitions. It gives us our intuition. It gives us a look at the future. Now, New York State says it's against the law to tell the future. There are professional futurists. These are people who are hired by companies to look at all the data that comes in and be able to make choices for that company. All big companies have them. They have like a think tank. They sit down and they discuss where we're going to go, how we're going to make profits, how we're going to these things. Those are called futurists. And anybody can get a job as a futurist. You just have to be able to have an analytical mind and be able to use statistics. Statistics is one of the things for polls. It's for prophecies on what business is going to happen, telling the future. They use statistics, all the little hints that come up, whether or not you should buy a certain stock, whether or not you should invest in the futures for orange juice. I worked with a person, and he was big into futures. So he would watch the weather, watch the market, watch how things were traveling. So when he bought the futures for orange juice, he knew whether or not he was going to make money. And what happens is you buy a certain number. If anybody can remember Dobie Gillis, that was an old movie. Well, he got involved in futures with eggs. And what he did, he bought, he bet on eggs. So he had like 1,000 cases of eggs that if time comes up, what you do is you release those and then you get your money for them. But he didn't release them because he didn't realize that if you held on to them, you had to buy the eggs. So in the movie, he ended up buying all these eggs. So you have to know what you're doing. I knew a day trader. I fixed his computer. He would sit there with a whole group of people. They would be online and buying and selling stocks by the minute. sometimes he would make, in 1 minute, he would make thousands of dollars. Other times, if he didn't get in soon enough, that he wouldn't make that kind of money. So really, knowing the future will help your life. There's right now there's probably a lot of stuff. The end of the year, this is it's really like all these predictions are going to be harvested. What's going to happen next year? What's going to happen at the end of the year? But again, you can believe what you want and then hope for the best. It's, is the world going to end? We'll say in December 31st. Every year something comes out that's going to end the world, whether it's going to be the pandemic, a flood, earthquakes. There's always something going on that people say this is going to cause the end of the earth. Prophets were listed as in the Bible as people who listened to God's word and then were able to say what was going to happen next. That's what the definition of a prophet is. It says, prophet is a statement of something that will happen in the future, a prediction. The prophecies is an author have all come to his prophecies are fulfilled. In the Bible, there was a number of really high-powered prophets. And if you remember any of your history about all the big conquerors of the world, always had a soothsayer or a prophet with them. Even President Eisenhower had someone who his wife had, because he was shot at and he was attempted assassination. She hired a person to tell the future, to help get things going and make sure that he was safe. I'm sure that all governments have something called a think tank. It's like the Brookings Institute. Has everybody heard of the Brookings Institute? They're a group of people that the government goes to when there's anything that they want to talk about, economy or politics, because they see what the trends are, and they're able to they have a lot of high-powered people who are able to put these trends together to make sure that they do the best for their company. And so you can make a lot of money in it. I did meet a person from the Brookings Institute because he came to our UFO group, and we asked him what the government feels about UFOs, and he was able to tell somewhat, because it's all classified, their group, but tell us somewhat what the government was looking at the time, whether or not they were going to expand their looking at it, or how much of it was really top secret, so that the Brookings Institute has a contract with the government or any entity that wants to buy the information. They have a contract, and part of the contract is a non-disclosure. So if you invest in the stock market, and if you have money, you hire someone to look at the trends, you hire someone to look at what's going on, so they're able to prophesize what your return is going to be. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Not everybody is able to make good choices when it comes to prophecies. Right now, I think before the end of the year, we're going to see food prices rising an awful lot. And what's causing that other than all of the stuff that's going on. So what we have to look at is, if your prices are, if you're worried about how far inflation is going to go, you might want to stock up, because tomorrow is going to be higher. I don't know if you go into the supermarket and then get out and see that, sometimes $100, what you used to spend $100, now you're spending $120, $130. So it's how do you as a individual handle the what's going to happen in the future with the things. And there's the other thing is a survivalist. Years ago there was a whole trend on the world was going to end, and people were buying food, and they bought these containers of food, put them in their basement, and they had all these things just in case. The just in case has kind of passed by, because the world didn't end yet. But a lot of people are still sitting on a lot of food that's getting to be old. Some of it, they said it would last for 10 years in the container. So some people are still sitting on their original storehouse of food. Now, there's still survivalists who are saying that you still should have food for at least a couple months, or sometimes the Mormons believe that it's a year, that you should have food for a year. They also have, they stock unground wheat, and they have a little mill so that they can ground them. And this is all things that they're taught and that they're looking forward to as the times change. Now, one of the right now most active, I would say, most active prophet, who's actually called a prophet, is the head of the Mormon Church. He's called a president and prophet, and he speaks directly to God in order to do the policies and the things that are going on in the Mormon Church. Doesn't mean that everybody believes him, but that's what his title is. Just like the Pope. The Pope is the head of the Catholic Church. He speaks directly to God. Now, in some parts of the Catholic Church, you cannot speak directly to God. You need to go through a priest. There's an intermediary on that. And one of the forecasts that's coming up soon, supposedly, is the end of the Mormon Church. Organized religion is really falling off. Not that many, young people go to church. Not that many young people are interested in the church, and so it's making a real tough situation on who's responsible for the morals of the, we'll say, of the young people. It's the parents are having a tough time because of all the things going on, and the predictions for the future: no cash. It will all be credit cards, and what they're talking about is implanting the chip that's on the card, implanting that chip in you, so that when you go up and put your hand up to the cash register, it'll automatically charge you and take care of all of the business, so you won't need to do that. And most people, you see how many Amazon trucks and UPS trucks and things, most people are buying stuff through the mail. So our economy is totally changing on whether or not we're going to be active with other people. Some of the predictions that are coming up is that we won't go out of the house anymore. You'll do everything on your phone, and that's the other prediction. The phone will take over everything. All of your business will be done on the phone. There are some things that I don't think there's anything you really can't do on the phone, including doctor's visits. The new phones are going to, and the watch, you'll get a watch or some kind of device or an implant that will measure your blood pressure and all this kind of stuff. So you won't go to the doctors anymore. What you'll do is you'll call the office, he'll type in whatever the password is, and he'll get your stuff off of your watch or your phone, so that it'll take the doctor out of the picture. It'll be more computerized. And this is with the artificial intelligence that they're talking about. That's another thing that's been predicted for the future. How many people know what artificial intelligence is? Or augmented reality? That's another thing, where you put the glasses on and you have gloves, and it feels like you're in the game, but it's not going to be just a game. It's going to be life. That's what you're going to see. They had those little glasses that came out with the little TV screen in it, or the little computer screen. So that's coming also. To me, it's very, very scary, because what happens if electricity stops? There is nothing. I mean, that's a real, or the cell phone. Something happens to cell phones, that there are EMP, electromagnetic pulse, that comes from the sun, that's going to, prophecy is that it's going to wipe out our electric network. And with the new thing called the Internet of Things, how many people have heard of Internet of Things? Okay, how many people have one of the new refrigerators, where it's on your cell phone? It tells you what you need to order, what's in the refrigerator, what the temperature is. They're only about $4,000, but that's what it's coming to. Everything will be connected to the internet. You'll be connected everywhere. That was the word globalization that happened before. It was predicted that everything will go global. Nothing will be local. Nothing will be made in a nation for those people. Right now we buy vegetables from Chile. Remember, Chile is the opposite from us. So right now down there, they're in summertime, so it's their growing season. So all of the stuff that we would grow here up in the summer, or sometimes even in the fall, comes from Chile. Now, Hannaford, if you remember, Hannaford used to have signs on all the vegetables in there on where they came from. I haven't seen those signs in a while. So you don't know if the stuff is coming from Chile. You don't know where it's coming from. But this is the new future that's coming. Everything is going to be, I'm trying to think, just in time. That's what the new thing is. Christmas shopping. Has everybody done their Christmas shopping, or what they're going to do? Mm-hmm. Did you get out of the house and actually go, or did you look online to get all the things done online? See, that's the other thing. It's just in time. You can order on Amazon and have it delivered today. Most things. Same thing with food. You can go and sign up and have ShopRite deliver the food to your house. You won't have to leave the house anymore. You won't have to do anything. All of your entertainment will be on the phone. All of the, how many people have a regular computer at home and not a laptop? You still have a regular computer? And how many people have just a laptop? Yeah, that's the new, everybody has been so trained now on what's going to happen with the with the future, that we're going to get stuck with it, I think. Let me just look up something here that I wanted to see. Oh, predictions. It says the action of prediction is a prediction of future behavior. Prediction is a forecast or a statement of the future data or event. They are often, but not always, based on experience or knowledge. Now, what predictions do we use every single day? You get up in the morning.
Weather.
The weather. Now, why has the weather reporters seem to be less accurate?
It's unpredictable.
Yes, and they don't predict the weather. What they do is they use a computer, put in whatever the data is, and whatever pops up they say. They don't look out the window. And as I was growing up, I had, it was always funny. You have somebody in the family, my knee hurts, it's going to rain. Everybody would be able to forecast what was going on, but that's not the thing. If it's not on your phone, then you're not going to believe it. But weather is one of the big ones. And what's the other thing? That
Stock market?
Yeah, the stock market. There's predictions in the stock market that the bubble's going to break, and they're all saying that some of the stuff is very, very overpriced. And that's the biggest thing that people bet on, is the stock market, on how much. And there's some people who make millions. Other people lose their shirts. If you've read, Musk and all the rest of them, they lose. Their the valuation of their stock changes by billions. So, and if you watch the Federal Reserve, now the Federal Reserve has come out and said that there's going to be 3 rate increases next year. Now that's going to make the stock market have a problem. Do you know why that's going to make the stock market have a problem? People can borrow money, big people, big companies, at 0 interest or below 0. Now they're going to have to start to pay interest. They're not going to use their own money to run the stock market. So everything is going to be sucked in. So it's going to change the economy of the world, I think. And that's how powerful something as simple as a 0.25% on the interest rates. And if you have any money in the savings account, and I'm not even sure if you get interest on anything in a savings account.
Nothing.
Yeah. So why would you want to save money? And that's what the government's saying. Why would you want to save money? And banks, everything is done for a profit. There's nothing that's really not done for a profit. So the more stuff that's going on with the banks, the different is out. The other thing is political. They're talking about who's going to be running in 2024. How many? And the polls have already started. A poll is just a questionnaire that goes to certain people. Now, if you are a Republican or if you're a Democrat and you're taking a poll, what you want to do is you want to poll the people that you think is going to be positive for you. And statistics, if you take statistics in college or in high school, you know that those numbers can be moved around to equal anything that you want, depending on how big the group is that you're polling, what questions you ask. It can all be manipulated. So we're looking at if someone's predicting who's going to win in 2024, things can change really fast. There was this last election that we had. There's a lot of people that made a really bunch of bad feelings because they thought they were going to win. The polls said they were going to win, and they went all out, and it didn't happen. People didn't come out to vote. They may have said they were going to vote for him, but they didn't vote for him, so they didn't get elected. And now they're all starting to get their anger back up again, and it's going to be more. I predict more problems with the political policies and the economy, and the predictions are that it's not going to grow as much as it did because there's just not that much money, and the people who are out of work their unemployment is coming up soon to be stopped, and all of the free money that the government was giving, those things are coming up in January. Unless they renew all of that, there's going to be some problems, and they've already predicted that they're not going to renew it. So that might be an issue for the economy. And for a small town, like Pine Bush, it really doesn't seem to be that bad. But how many people in Pine Bush are going to lose whatever subsidy that they had before? They're not going to be able to eat. The food pantries are just getting it's getting harder and harder to keep them stocked because more people rely on the food pantries to survive in the area. So the economy is another big thing about predictions. And the last one is earth changes. There's a few sites that you can go on, and a lot of them have really bad horror stories on what earth changes are going on. It's like the tornadoes that were in Kentucky. There was one that was over 250 miles long. It hit the ground and didn't go away, and a lot of people perished. So what causes the sudden change in all of the bad weather patterns? England had, in the mountains in England, they had a lot of snow, which they don't normally get. So, and in California, there's a big drought thing, but now they're getting a lot of rain, and it's washing away, and mudslides are really bad because of the fires they had all summer. Now, there was a whole bunch of conspiracy theories about how the fires started, what they actually caused, and how hot they were. They actually melted cars. So, and when a house burned down, the furniture and the appliances literally melted. So where did that heat come from? So that's a whole bunch of theories about all of these changes are going on. Where are they coming from? Now China supposedly is able to modify their weather because they can, I guess, clear up the air or do make rain and stuff. So if I remember back when rainmaking was a big thing here because the farmers needed rain, we had a drought. And they had people who seeded the clouds, but they also had Native Americans who would do their rain dance and seem to have helped. So what's happening now with the weather? Why are we having so many problems? What's with the earthquakes that are going on in places that they normally don't happen? Does anybody know what was prophesized for the earth changes and what might be causing it?
Who is the they that's making all these predictions?
Sorry?
You keep saying they predict this and they predict this. Who's they?
Well, there's a whole group of people on the internet who actually predict the weather. There's a couple Native Americans from the Hudson Valley that predict there's going to be changes in the Hudson River, that we're going to have some monumental changes. There's a lady on the internet who speaks for the World Council of Worlds, which is supposed to be an alien group, and she's predicted all of these Earth changes that come up, and she's predicted them like 5 or 10 years ago, and now they're finally starting to happen much more than normal.
But the other things, about the mark in the hand, and I mean that was Revelations, but I mean the other things about staying in the house and everything's on the phone. Who's predicting this?
Futurists.
Is there a group of?
There's a group of. Let me just read the definition for futurists, because I wasn't sure about them myself.
I mean, is something you could look up as?
Oh yeah, you can look. If the term futurist most commonly refers to people who attempt to understand the future, sometimes called trend analysis, such as authors, consultants, thinkers, organizational leaders, and others who engage in interdisciplinary and systems thinking to advise public and private organizations on diverse trends, possible scenarios, emerging market opportunities, and risk management. And what kind of companies use the futurist? You can find jobs in big businesses, governments, nonprofits, educational organizations, think tanks, or consultant agencies. Employers like Intel, Procter & Gamble, and National Intelligence Council will employ futurists in all the important roles that help them out. Now, if you go on and type in futurists and look up whatever year you want to look up, they will tell you what they expect by that year. And if you look, they're talking about medicine. Medicine is going to take big, gigantic leaps forward with more electronic things. And how many people are here familiar with 3D printing? Okay, 3D printing, they're going to be able to print you organs and skin. So they're going to be able to replace body parts. They're going to be able to make food. That's another thing. A lot of your food is going to be 3D printed. I don't know if I want a hamburger that's been, and they're using, trying to think of the term, I'll think of it. But there's so many things going on in the 3D printing industry. Houses are being 3D printed. There's just so many things that they can print. They can actually print the house. They bring this machine out there and it prints the outline of the house and actually prints the house on your property. It's, you know, that's what the future is going to bring, but is it going to be what you want? That's the other thing. Are you going to accept sitting on a phone, talking to the doctor, and he's going to listen to your heartbeat and your blood pressure from your watch? You're not going to really interact with him. And how do you know he's a doctor? And with all of this stuff that goes on with your privacy, there's so many things that can be hacked into, your phone, your watch, your cars. And they do predict that there'll be autonomous cars in 5 years. In other words, all cars will be autonomous. It's like they're talking about having all electric cars. You know, they're all going to be electric.
The problem that I see is these are all people that are looking for things for profit. And are they predicting what's going to happen, or are they trying to turn the tide? This is what they want to happen because they can make the profit if they know what you're going to buy. Like when Crocs came out, they had no idea this thing was going to go nuts and people were going to buy Crocs, and they became a big thing.
But
And
it was predicted. It was
They-
predicted.
The people like them.
Right.
They themselves didn't think it was going to be a big thing. They think it'd be good for gardeners because the squishy can
Right.
go in and out and like that. They didn't think it was going to be a big thing. But the people made the tide turn because they liked them.
Right, but the thing is,
And they didn't think that that was going to happen.
right, but
It's
the
the
people, right, the people though who actually built and actually marketed it, they know what's going on, and what they do is, sometimes a trend will happen in one day. If you look at, I don't know how many people are on, you have Facebook, you got Twitter, you got all the rest of them. Something could be posted on there today, it will just absolutely grow, and then tomorrow it's gone. So our attention span is pretty small on a lot of these things. And yes, one of the things is Crocs. The other thing is, you know, people don't wear, men don't wear hats. You know, just there's a lot of things that happen and that they make. The biggest thing is if you get it on the phone, and get the people to see it and get people to, the influencers, to follow what it is, they make the future. They make what's going on. And the future, it could be just 5 minutes away. Depends on how far you want to look. It's like thinking about moving. If you've lived in Pine Bush forever and you suddenly decide, I want to go to Florida, you have to look into the future. What is it going to bring?
But the more influence they have that they can push on you, like watching TV, watching that phone all the time, they keep repeating and repeating and repeating it.
Yes.
And then they have the demographics to test you and find out which words work for you to make you
Right.
not think, but just want to go for that.
Right, and that's what
All
that's
that
what the whole
brainwashing.
thing is with the trends on the phone. Remember, Google, every time you search, every time you use your phone, somebody is taking the data off of that information. They know how many times you look up cheese pizza or whatever. And so what they're doing is they're looking at what the trend is for that, and they make the trend by putting it more in your face. It's like the Kardashians. I don't know if you know, ever watched the show or whatever, but they are very big influencers in the world. I mean, I don't know why, I don't understand it, but apparently when they post a half-naked picture of themselves, it gets 1 million views and everybody loves it. But is it real? Is that really true?
They make the triggers so that
Right.
you stop thinking and you just want, or
But
you just
is it
react.
true? The thing is it true? You know, that's where you have to discern what's going to happen in the future, what's already happened in the past, and look at all of these things. If someone tells you that the best thing to make, we'll say your Christmas dinner, they'll tell you, well, you got to cook your turkey this way. That doesn't necessarily mean it's good, but a lot of people, TikTok is the one thing. They all these hacks to cook turkey. Does that make it any better? And are there actually millions of people looking at this, or is it just statistics that they spread out? And that's what the whole thing is on futures. So it's like the library. You know, they're talking about books going to be paper. It's going to be gone again. Remember the paperless society? It was about 10, 15 years ago, where they said no, everything's going to be online. Well, right now it's getting there. Remember, the children aren't going to school. It's going to be online. Another prediction was that colleges will be non-existent. To be more small training organizations. In other words, if you want to be a plumber, that you'll go to the college level thing for the plumber. You're not going to have to just think like BOCES or whatever. So they're going to get rid of, because all these people are graduating from colleges with degrees in, well, when I was very young, they called it basket weaving. You know, you got a college degree, but it really doesn't buy you anything in the market, because you don't really have the skills necessary to do things. Everybody will be learning programming.
But this doesn't teach you to think.
I'm sorry?
And that's what they don't want to do. They don't want you to think and use your own mind to do
Right.
it. They just want you to follow this protocol that they've set up.
Right.
So
And
that
that's
they
what-
can manipulate you to buy whatever they want you to buy or do whatever they want you to do.
Well, that's
We have to teach
control.
thinking
It's
instead
like
of
the
yeah.
masks and the COVID. There's so many conspiracy theories out about, you know, what's going on with the vaccinations.
Is this real?
I guess Cornell University, they have a real bad problem with the COVID.
900.
Yeah.
Yes,
I heard
but they're
that.
all vaccinated. That's the issue. And if they're, you know, if the theories are all right, how come this is not fixing? And they're going to more control. It's what it. I hate to be a real
But
conspiracy.
did you see when the COVID came out and everything, the first thing that people wanted to do after this was a few months, it's like they had to get out of the house. They had
Right.
to get out in nature. It's like, it was like mind-boggling. The human body is not meant to take that. Your nervous system can't take that. It needs socialization. It needs people.
But the
And
thi-
if it's gonna have a lot of mentally ill people
this
from
is
this.
this is the weapon
Mhm.
of the government
Yes.
and of anybody, and it's all about the money. It's all about the money. So if you there's some families that spend $400 a month for a cell phone, because they have, each one of their child has one, they both have one, they have unlimited texting and stuff, and unlimited data. So they could spend that much kind of money on it, and that runs their life. Everything rotates around here. And all of the apps that come down now, you're going to see the school get away from Chromebooks. You're going to see the school getting away from things because they can do it here. And everybody has one. But if you let it run your life, your life will be run the way that we'll say the government, or the way that the economy, or whoever it is who's in charge, they're going to run your life. But the future doesn't have to be that way. You can back out. But it takes work, and
There are some people that can't stand to be around the cell phones or anywhere near the towers. They can feel it right
Right.
away and they get sick.
well, this is the whole, if you remember when cell phones first came out, as a Dowser and groups, we went around and we said, this is going to happen. And the test in Sweden showed that there was a problem with mental, it actually dumbs down your nervous system. but right now we're going to 5G, and the next one's gonna be 6G.
And the 5G is affecting the planes, the
Right.
altimeter to the ground.
Right, but they're gonna go to 6G. And I just read now that the phone companies are in the future, will get rid of 3G. They're going to stop using 3G. How many people have a phone, a landline in the house, landline? Okay, some people have given them up, and the phone company wants to give you up, have you give them up because it takes a lot of maintenance for a landline for them.
And a lot of those companies do not progress. A lot of their equipment is outdated.
Right.
And they're not keeping up with the times.
Well, the times change so fast, and this is what the future is all about. The times change fast. You can't always stop progress. What you can kind of stand around and not get caught up in it. One of the other issues that's coming up is the internet. The internet is getting so hard to maintain because if you understand what the internet is, this phone is given a certain number. The number that it uses to contact the internet, it contacts a router. That router takes the number that you're looking for, whatever company it is, and it goes to that, it gets passed through all the routers to get to the company. Amazon went down again yesterday because the router went down. The router is just a thing that translates the number that they're looking for to the address. So the address and the number are two different things. And if the piece of equipment that is pushing that number to a certain place, it goes down, you get stopped. Your life can stop. And some people really, remember when I guess it was a couple months ago, the cell phones went down and they had a lot of trouble getting things. Yeah, some people went very crazy because they had nothing to do. They had nobody to talk to.
Years before that, the Blackberries, they all went out and for a couple of days and people were like, ah.
Yeah, because they have nobody to talk to. And that's what the future is. You need to have a social interaction. That's what we are. We're social animals. We are not electronic drones. We're becoming electronic drones. And that's a real problem. But again, that's, all of the crazy stuff. The 10 prophecies you didn't know, let me just find one that I know is going to be, Saint Hildegard, a polymath nun in the 12th century. She was very well known for her incredible contributions to classical music and literature. She is not well known for her prophecies, of which there were many. One prediction appears that she, referring to the destruction of the United States, before the comet comes, many nations, the good accepted, will be scoured with want and famine. The great nation in the ocean that is inhabited by peoples of different tribes and descent by an earthquake, storm, and tidal waves will be devastated. It will be divided. It will, in great part, submerged. The nation will also have many misfortunes at sea and lose its colonies to the east through a tiger and a lion. And the comet is by tremendous pressure will force out the ocean and flood many countries. This is done, I guess, in the 12th century. And what she's talking about is the comet coming, the floods, the changes. And if you watch volcanic activity and earthquake activity, things are changing in the world. She's talking about global changes. If it is true, she doesn't, predictions and prophecies are tough because they don't have a distinct date. Now, does everybody know some of the famous prophets like Edgar Cayce?
Yes.
Edgar Cayce was called the sleeping prophet. He was a very Christian man. He would go into a trance, put himself in the body of the other person, and then be able to determine medical reasons or whatever. And sometimes he would just go for particular questions about what's going on in the universe. He predicted a lot of earth changes that are coming up. And they have a whole society it's the ARE, that has his prophecies. All of his stuff is written in books and stuff. And if you look at what he predicted and how things work, it's a little different. There's other prophets that are really, the true third secret. Does everybody know what the Fatima secrets were? Yeah, in the Catholic Church, you remember what the things that, it was a group of girls that Virgin Mary appeared to them and told them the things that were going to happen in the future. The third prophecy was been hidden for a long time. They supposedly released it, but the third prophecy actually foretells of the fall of the Catholic Church. You know, not just the Pope leaving, but the Church itself will be dissolved. And right now, the political attitudes of most people is that the more and more young people leaving the church, more and more all Christian religions, more and more are getting, and the families the integrity are changing. So that was the prophecies by 3 young girls who were given the message from Virgin Mary. So those were prophecies that it was the church admits it's the fall of the Pope, but it's actually the dissolving of the Catholic Church. So that's a prophecy that hasn't come true yet, but it's still in the making things.
Yeah, what do you think of the prophecies of Nostradamus?
Nostradamus that's a big prophecy. Nostradamus was a Frenchman. He was a doctor, I guess a author, and a very devout Christian. The problem in France at that time, there was issues with people being prophets. That's when they came out with the tarot. If you're familiar with tarot cards, it was outlawed in France, so they came out with special cards. You know, they didn't have the special cards; they used regular cards. Nostradamus wrote in quatrains. He also wrote backwards, so that in the mirror, so that he would make it less fortune telling. It was just, they were very coded and very different. And there's still a lot of his stuff. People are interpreting it's still coming true. 9/11, or you know, some of the great wars and stuff. He had predicted those. He predicts a third world war in the Middle East, which is going to be a real bad war. But again, prophecies and predictions always seem to be bad. You know, no one says anything really good about how the life. It's like I expect. They're talking about life, lengthening the lifetime for a person. I think the average now for a male is 74, and a woman is like 78, 79. But I can see that's going to go up, but it has fallen back real fast because of all the stuff that went on with the pandemic and the stuff that's going on. It's just a matter of time before they design. How many people have heard of a heart transplant that has gone on lately? They're not replacing hearts. They used to have a mechanical heart they're replacing. What they do is they can fix it. They replace the valves, they do things, but it's not the same as getting a heart replacement. So there's progress being made in all kinds of things. They're going to use a 3D printer with stem cells, that's the word I couldn't think of before, to make organs, to make skin, to make things. Now, where do stem cells come from?
Placenta.
I'm sorry?
Placenta?
Yeah, well, not just the placenta, it comes
Babies.
from babies.
Yeah.
Yes, so with this, I don't know, I don't like to bring up this subject, with abortions, they're saying that all of this fetal material is being used for all of these things. So that's why they don't want to stop abortions, because that would cut off a lot of this stuff for research.
But it has been proven, there's been less and less abortions being done in this country also.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, and it's getting less and less, and,
Yeah, but this.
so I don't know that supply, how long that supply is going to last.
Well, that's why I don't try to bring that. It's a very, very, that's a worse subject that I can think of, so I don't get it. But there's a lot of things that are happening that in the future will increase your lifespan, will increase, it's like now they have, they can replace your shoulder, knee, elbow,
Hips.
hip.
Knees.
We're becoming cyborgs.
Yeah, and what they're doing now is it's getting very, very common. It's like having a cornea transplant, having, cataracts taken off. All these medical things are coming. They're talking about artificial intelligence being able to go in and the computer to figure out what your state of health is by putting in all of the parameters for you, And then when the doctor calls you, he'll be able to diagnose you and tell you all of these things that you need by a computer given information. It's like if you go to see the doctor, normally he takes your blood pressure, talks to you a little while, tells you that you need this prescription, that prescription, and away you go. Now it's going to be on the phone, and if you listen to the ads on the thing, the future is the phone. You won't have a physical chance to see a physical doctor. So there won't be doctors. What there'll be is computer experts. Every doctor will learn programming and program apps for medical purposes. That
They do
Yes.
this in Japan,
Yes.
yes.
which I always found very fascinating.
All of these things that are happening, the future, it's your future. How do you want to see your future? You can look through rose-colored glasses and say that everything is going to be nice and we're all going to be happy. But then if you have grandchildren and stuff, how are they going to fit in to the new future? For us, it's, we can push and not be really run by it. But as you grow up, all of this stuff will be ingrained in you. So your future is not what you make of it anymore. It's it's like the big problem with schools now. Parents are finding out what people are learning in school, and because they're teaching them at home, and a lot of people are very upset about that. So that's another issue on schools. What's going to happen? Yes.
You did bring up a very good point, and it is already happening as far as people, eventually, we're just going to go, you don't have to go to a 4-year university and graduate with basket weaving, transportation, all right, you can go right to medical school. You can go right to law school. They're changing that whole system. People
Right.
don't have to go to a 4-year, they can do it in 2. All that is going to change.
Yes.
Because, well, it's also very expensive, but it's almost archaic now.
Yes. They're saying in the future there'll be no reason to go to college.
Right.
Because you'll be able to do everything. If you are a programmer and you learn anatomy and you're a doctor, you can sit at a phone or sit at a computer and take care of patients all over. But what are you going to do for a surgeon? What happens if they need a surgeon? What happens if they have these things? So it's all going to be specialized. If you have any kind of health care, then you belong to a group. If you don't go to that group, within that group, you get paid, you get charged more money.
But this is also taking care of just the physical body.
Yes.
The mental body is very much connected with that and can cause all kinds of problems, no matter how good a health you're.
But that's not the.
And they don't wanna see that.
Right, they're
giving
not
mental
addressing
health.
that, that's the thing. It's, people age at a different rate, people learn at a different rate, and yes, you'll be able to have all of this stuff in the future, but is it going to be the right for you? So, any questions?
I just feel that with what you're saying for the future, becoming more digital, becoming a more electronic device prone, I feel that the young kids today aren't expanding their minds because they're on a phone. They're not looking up, they're not researching, they're playing games or they're talking to their friends.
Right,
They're not using their digital devices to learn anymore right now. So if that's what's happening right now, the more progressive we become with electronic devices, what's going to make them use those in a positive way?
because they're gonna get, as they get older, the older people like us are going to, who are not digital and who don't do that, they're not gonna have as much influence. So as the children grow, they're going to fit the future into their thing. And if the future is the phone, and if the future is not having the physical contact, not having all stuff, that's what's gonna happen. It's like, how many people play a lot of games on their phone? Yeah, see, that's the thing, you know, it's entertainment. If you use it as entertainment, but the new thing is gambling. I don't know if you hear the thing.
yeah.
The gambling will be on there, so you won't have to go to the casino. You got your phone. And because it's all credit, you don't need to have any money. You don't see how much money you're losing. That's the other issue with having everything on electronic credit. You don't have a physical accounting for what you are, you know. And if you look at some of the science fiction movies, Star Wars, Star Trek, it was all credits. Everybody had credits, but also because things are not as private as we might like, or as you might think it is, people can switch and take and transfer money all over the place. And so, yes, your future's going to be different. It might be more fun, there might be more games, but as the artificial intelligence takes over, the artificial intelligence is just computers making decisions. Decisions are only made as good as the programmer can do. So if in the first days of computers, it was garbage in, garbage out. That was the term. I've been around electronics, in vacuum tubes. I did in a service. I was a Nike missile internal guidance repairman. They had no transistors in it. It was all tubes inside these things. So I've gone from that to right now everything is transistorized. There's no tube. You can buy an audio amplifier if you like pure, good audio with tubes in it. But I've had to learn from a computer with switches on the front that you would have to program in order to get information out. But I went from a computer like that to, you go to the phone. So things have really changed. I would never have guessed that we would have progressed this fast. They're talking about things have changed, but the computers are not changing. It's the programming that's changing. It's the people who are in charge are changing, and they're making more things more available.